Hi, I'm Doug Patt, and this is How to Hand Letter Like an Architect, A to Z. Hand lettering is a dying art, but I still enjoy it, and this is how I do it. The letter A, like most letters, appears to sit at an angle. That angle can vary, and it makes all letters look more dynamic. So henceforth we'll call it the dynamic angle. The thing you'll also notice about my lettering is that vertical lines are drawn very straight. That's because I like to use a small lettering triangle to draw them. Such is the case with the letter B. Many of the curves in my letters also look more like ellipses than circles. And sometimes, like with the letter C, the ellipse has been squeezed. I also like to make my letters look incomplete. I call the gap between the line segments suggested connections. You'll also notice that when letters have horizontal lines, those lines are drawn freehand and at a dynamic angle. Such is the case with the letter F. The letter G looks like a squeezed ellipse, and the letter can be completed using a triangle for the vertical and freehand for the horizontal. The letter H is simply made by drawing two vertical lines, the second slightly higher than the first, and a freehand horizontal line connecting the two at an angle. The letter I is a no-brainer. And J is made the same way as an H, but the left vertical is shorter and about a third as tall as the right. The two are connected with an angled horizontal line. The letter K looks a bit like Ralph Macchio from The Karate Kid, and the upper diagonal is drawn closer to a 30-degree angle. The letter L can be made a little more interesting, utilizing a suggested connection at the juncture of the vertical and the horizontal. I like to make my M with the left vertical set lower than the right, and the diagonals at the center mirror one another. The letter N is drawn the same way with staggered verticals and a connecting horizontal. The letter O is simply a squeezed ellipse drawn at an angle with a suggested connection at the bottom. The letter P is made with a drafting triangle for the vertical and a squeezed ellipse drawn at an angle. The letter Q is simply an O with a diagonal added just beyond the gap at the bottom. The letter R is drawn just like the letter P with the ellipse set at an angle, and the typical diagonal can be drawn as a horizontal line. The letter S looks as though it's the top and bottom of two ellipses that are met with a diagonal line drawn at a dynamic angle. The letter T is made with a horizontal line set at an angle and a vertical drawn with a triangle. The crossing line at the top can be set asymmetrically. The letter U is drawn like the letters N or H, with two offset verticals connected at the bottom by a diagonal line set at a dynamic angle. I like to draw my letter V much like the diagonals between the letter M. However, sometimes it looks a bit wide and can be narrowed down. The letter W is drawn with two offset vertical lines and the first diagonal set at a dynamic angle. The second is drawn freehand, almost horizontal. The letter X is drawn with the first diagonal at a steeper angle than usual. The crossing diagonal is drawn so that the base looks as though it's been lifted off the ground. The letter Y is drawn with a wide letter V and a vertical line. The diagonal at the right is lifted at an angle to make the letter look more dynamic. And finally, the letter Z is drawn with two parallel lines set at a dynamic angle, and the diagonal at the center connects the two. I'm Doug Patt. We'll see you next time.